Hello and welcome back to Science. Today's topic is water is life. Why is water crucial to life on Earth? So I hope you are ready to learn. I hope you have a notebook and a pencil or some kind of writing utensil so that you can take notes. And hopefully you have on a separate tab that Google form open, the one titled During Class, so that every time when I tell you to pause the video, you can head over to your Google form and answer the question that I ask you. Okay? Are you ready? Here we go. So water! This week we've been learning about the hydrosphere. Remember, Earth is made up of 4 spheres: biosphere, geosphere, hydrosphere, and atmosphere. And so this week has been all about the water on Earth, the hydrosphere. We learned that Earth is made of fresh water and salt water, mostly salt water because salt water is in our oceans. So 97% of the hydrosphere is salt water. And then you have 3% fresh water, all the water in lakes, rivers, clouds, and streams, and even in your home, right? That's all fresh water. That's only 3% of the water on Earth. And we know that all water is made, whether it's solid, liquid, or gas, all water is made of a water molecule, which is 1 big oxygen and 2 little hydrogen atoms put together. Okay, so we've talked this week about the water cycle and all the ways that water changes, constantly transforming every day, whether it's evaporating or condensing or precipitating. Water is always changing in the hydrosphere. Okay, so today's objective is I can describe how we use water and explain why water is crucial to life on Earth. Crucial. So first I just want to make sure we are all on the same page with our vocabulary. Let's look at this word crucial. What does crucial mean? Why is water crucial to life on Earth? Have you heard this word before? Crucial? Crucial means very important. If you're taking notes, this is the type of word you would write down and circle, right? It's our word of the day, crucial. It means very important or necessary or vital. Those are all synonyms for crucial. Oh, so perfect. Now is the time to pause your video and head over to your Google form. Question number 1 is, what is an antonym for crucial? Pay attention to those details. What is an antonym? So that means a word that means the opposite. Okay. Yep, so hopefully you have paused the video long enough to go and fill out that answer, and then you come back and press play, and we're back. So synonyms are words that mean the same. Antonyms, words that mean the opposite. So synonyms for crucial are, like we said a minute ago, are very important or necessary or vital. That's what water is to us on Earth. It's very important. Antonyms are the opposite of crucial. You might have come up with a word that's not on this list, but some antonyms are useless or insignificant or unnecessary, right? These are things that water is not. But water is crucial to life on Earth. Water is a part of us. It's inside of us, right? For my 4th graders who have learned about cells, you guys all know that our cells are made of water. Our cells have water inside of them. And our bodies are more than 70% water, right? Mostly water. We're big old sacks of water and a few other things, right? It's very important to us, not only because we use it in so many ways, which we're about to talk about, but also because we're literally made of this substance. So all living things need water, right? All living things are made of water. Can I get rid of this? There we go. Okay, so let's start by thinking about how we, humans, use water. We use water for, and I'm just going to brainstorm some ideas really quickly, and then I'll have you go give me a response to this question in the Google form. Okay, so let's just throw out some ideas of things we use water for on a day-to-day basis. For drinking, obviously, it's probably the most obvious one. Staying hydrated, cleaning, cooking, bathing, playing. When I say playing, we don't always use water when we're playing, but oftentimes our recreation has to do with water, right? Whether we're going swimming or we're playing in the lake or we're shooting squirt guns at each other or throwing water balloons at each other, even having snowball fights, right? We're using water. And so not all playing needs water, but we do use water to play. Traveling. Again, not all travel requires water, but most or a lot of travel, imagine if you're on a boat or on a canoe, you're going to be traveling on water. Fishing, growing plants or farming, washing your clothes, doing your laundry. Also, we use it to make electricity. So if you've ever seen a water wheel, that's one way that we generate electricity, is sending water through a wheel, which turns a motor and allows us to store up electricity. Almost like a windmill does the same thing, right? The wind spins it in a circle and it's turning a motor, which allows us to generate electricity. So water can do the same thing, right? So there's all these different ways that we use water. And there are even ways that I didn't think of that are not on that list. So go to your Google form, pause your video, and answer question number 2. What are 3 different ways that humans use water? Okay. So water is crucial to our everyday lives. We use it every hour of every day. But what about animals? What about plants? How do other organisms on Earth rely on water? So let's break it down into what are the 3 main ways that plants use water and what are the 3 main ways that animals use water. Before we move on though, pause your video again. You're on question number 3 on your Google form. Tell me, what is an organism? On this last slide I said, how do other organisms on Earth rely on water? So question number 3, what is an organism? See if you can remember. We've talked about it a few times. Okay, so an organism, remember an organism is any living thing. It's a living thing. So that means anything that follows Mrs. Gren, right? MRSGREN, anything that moves, breathes, or respirates, responds to stimulus, anything that grows, reproduces, eliminates waste, and needs nutrients. Those are all the characteristics of a living thing that we've learned about. Okay. So here we go. We'll start with plants. We're mostly going to focus on plants and animals as the 2 types of organisms today that we'll learn about. So plants use water for 3 things. Number 1, for energy, okay, through photosynthesis. So remember, plants are producers in a food chain, right? They don't have to eat. They don't need to drink. Right? They don't have a stomach where they can drink water, but they are soaking up water through their roots to use for photosynthesis. So plants are producers of their own energy through photosynthesis. And remember, the ingredients for photosynthesis are sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide, right? So as plants soak in sunlight, plants are soaking in carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And they're also using water as one of those main ingredients to be able to do photosynthesis, to be able to create sugar for themselves, right? Energy for themselves. So they need water for photosynthesis. Plants also use water for shelter. So that means some plants actually live inside of water. For example, Think about water lilies. Think about kelp or seaweed, right? Some plants make their home or make their habitat actually in the water. Think about mangrove trees and yeah. Okay, and then the third thing that they use it for is to stand up tall. Plants use water to fill their leaves and stems. So you guys might have seen a wilted plant before, one that is, its petals are shrinking or it's bending over or it just seems really dry and shriveled up. And that's because that plant doesn't have enough water, right? So another really important reason that plants need water is to be able to stand up tall, to be able to keep their bodies filled up, basically, right? To keep their cells filled. Inside of those plant cells, you guys might be able to picture or remember a plant cell is filled with a vacuole, right? That vacuole inside of the plant cell takes up most of the space in there. And what fills the vacuole? Water. So if the plant doesn't get enough water, its cells are literally going to shrink and shrivel so that the plant can't hold itself up, right? It can't spread its leaves to collect sunlight. It's just going to basically fall over and crumple up. A lot of plants, right? The trees are obviously more sturdy, but they still, same issue. If they're not getting enough water, right, they're not going to have enough stability on the inside to be able to stand tall and proud. Okay, so wait, let's go back to that last slide. Plants use water for energy, for shelter, and to fill up their bodies, right? To fill up their leaves and stems. Now, animals are really similar. Animals also use water for energy, except animals don't do photosynthesis, so they have to drink it, right? Obviously, we have to drink water every day. I think humans can only survive 2 or 3 days without water. You'll die of thirst within a couple days if you don't drink water. And different animals are adapted to different things, right? Many mammals are the same way. Mammals have to drink water almost every day in order to survive, whereas some types of reptiles and some types of birds and other animals have adapted so that they don't need to drink water as often, right? They can go a few weeks at a time without drinking water. And you guys might remember, do you remember when we talked about how jackrabbits, a certain species of jackrabbit, actually eats its own poop to be able to get enough water in the desert, right? So animals drink when they can and then adapt in other ways when they can't drink water every day. But they still need it. They need it for their energy and they need it to survive. So there's a cute picture of a squirrel drinking some water, having a drink. Okay, and then, and here's another picture of a wasp. Did you guys know that insects need to drink water too? There's a wasp taking a sip, but he doesn't need a big old pond, right? He's sipping just from a little tiny dewdrop. Taking a sip of water. Okay. All right, and then animals also use water for their shelter. So just like for plants, right? Water can be habitat. So we think about different types of fish and other animals that live in the water, right? Fish don't have to drink water necessarily, but they use it for their habitat, right? It's where they live and it's their shelter, it's their home. And the third thing we use it for is bathing or cleaning. So cleaning ourselves, keeping our bodies clean, and then obviously for cleaning other things, right? Cleaning your home, cleaning the things around you, the things that you use. I'm mostly talking about humans, but animals also bathe themselves and clean themselves using water. Here's a picture of a little birdie splashing, taking a bath. Getting its feathers clean? Okay, so wait, let me go back to this slide right here and show you. Number 3 is the main difference, right? Animals use water for energy and shelter. That was the same between both plants and animals, right? We either consume it, we either drink it or eat it, right, as a way to give ourselves energy, or we're living inside of it, right? Or it's our shelter, our habitat, our home. Okay, so that's the same between plants and animals. One of the differences between how plants and animals use it is plants don't have to bathe, right? Plants don't have to wash themselves, and so they don't use it for cleaning. But animals don't have to animals don't have leaves and stems that they need to fill with water. So plants will use it to fill the inside of their bodies. Shouldn't say bodies, I should say leaves and stems. And then animals will use it to bathe or clean themselves. So that's one big difference. Okay, so now go ahead and pause your video and go to your Google form to answer question number 4. What's one main difference between the way plants use water and the way animals use water? Okay, and you could have said what I just told you. Another difference that you could have mentioned is that plants are using water for photosynthesis, whereas animals don't do photosynthesis. Animals would have to drink water. Okie dokie. Great, so water is life. All living things need water to survive. All living things. We consume it, so we drink it or we eat it, right? We use it to make food. We wash with it, and we live in it. We consume it, we wash with it, we live in it. Now, those uses of water might be pretty obvious to us, right? Because those are things that we actually do physically ourselves. Well, maybe you don't live inside water, but you definitely consume it and you wash with it, right? And you see animals living in water all around you. Two things that you might not realize, though, is that water on Earth is helping our entire global ecosystem to stay healthy in 2 different ways. Okay, so 2 other ways that water is really crucial to us. Number 1, without water, there would be no oxygen, or there wouldn't be nearly as much oxygen. Oops. And the reason for that is because, well, think about, where does oxygen come from, right? Where do we get our oxygen on Earth? And that answer is mostly from plants, right? Plants are our producers of oxygen. When they're doing that photosynthesis, when they're making energy for themselves, they're also, remember, at the same time, they're producing oxygen and releasing that oxygen into the atmosphere. So without water, we wouldn't be able to survive, right? We wouldn't have oxygen because we wouldn't have plants. And without plants, who would be the producers of our oxygen? Right? So even though it seems a step removed, water is responsible for the oxygen in our atmosphere because water's keeping plants alive. And plants are keeping oxygen in the sky. Capiche? Okay, so pause your video. Go to question number 5 on your Google form. How does water help to produce oxygen on Earth? And your main answer should be because water fuels photosynthesis, right? Water is a main ingredient for photosynthesis, and photosynthesis is a main producer of oxygen on Earth. Okay, awesome. And second reason I told you I was going to tell you 2 ways that water helps our planet that might not be as obvious. So the first one is that water makes oxygen for us. And second one is that water on Earth helps to regulate our climate. That means that the water on Earth helps to keep our temperature stable, helps to keep the temperature of the Earth constant, right? And that's because of the oceans. The oceans, if you have looked at a map, which I know you have, but maybe you haven't recently, but when you look at a map, you see that the Earth is covered in oceans, right? We already know the planet is 70% covered in oceans. So, and that's why they call Earth the blue planet, right? Because we're covered in water. And all of that water that's surrounding our planet kind of acts like a big sponge, right? Water has an amazing ability to absorb heat. So when the heat of the sun comes and hits our planet, it's getting soaked in. A lot of that heat is getting soaked into the ocean water. And it helps to cool our planet down. Okay, scientists predict that if we didn't have our oceans, our planet might be 20 degrees hotter than it is right now, right? Just in general. So our oceans are a giant sponge. They help soak up all the heat coming from the sun, and they help to cool the planet down. Okay, it helps keep the temperature at a nice, livable, mild and stable temperature. And we're already starting to see that change thanks to global warming, but we don't need to get into that super hardcore. I just want you to know that the oceans are helping to stabilize our climate and our temperature on Earth. Okay, so pause your video. We're on the last question on your Google form, which is number 6. Summarize for me in a sentence or two. How do the oceans regulate Earth's temperature? How do our oceans help us? Okay, awesome. So those 2 reasons that we just talked about, 2 reasons that water is crucial to us, not only because we consume it and we use it to wash things and some animals and plants live in it, okay, but also because it helps us have oxygen to breathe and it keeps Earth's temperature nice and steady. Okay? Ta-da, the end. Alrighty, my friends, tomorrow, so that's the end of today's lesson, which means right now is a good time to go and take your DOL. Before you take DOL, let me just give you a quick announcement, which is that tomorrow we are going to take our HYDROSPHERE assessment. So we'll have a brief video lesson, and then you'll be taking your test on the HYDROSPHERE. It will be sort of like a DOL. It'll still be in a Google form, but much longer than a DOL. So instead of 5 to 10 questions, it'll be more like 25 to 30 questions, and it'll take you a little bit longer, okay? Not terribly long, but maybe 30 minutes or so, okay? So that is what you have to look forward to tomorrow. We're going to take our little test. I know we've only been talking about it for a week, but tomorrow we're already done. We're done with the unit. So tomorrow's going to be our assessment, and things you can expect to see on it will be everything that we've talked about this week. So freshwater and saltwater sources on Earth, all the stages of the water cycle, and telling me how water is changing states you should be able to tell me that during evaporation, it's changing from liquid to gas, for example. You should be able to tell me what's happening during precipitation, all of those vocab words. And the nice thing about this e-learning format, even though I know it has its challenges, the nice thing is that you can go back at any time and watch any of these lessons, or go back and look at any of the slideshows and YouTube videos that I have posted for you. So it's a really this format of e-learning makes it really easy for you to study for your test, because you don't just have to rely on the notes that you took in class. You can literally go back and re-watch the class or re-watch the lesson if you're not sure about something. Or feel free to send me, you can always send me a message or send me an email if you have questions or if you're confused. Okay, so the test tomorrow, freshwater, saltwater sources, the water cycle, and what we learned today, which is why is water important. Okay, so that'll be tomorrow. I will see you then. Okay, bye.